Yeah, anytime
to make him a first-round pick.
Anytime you can kind of like get into Belichick's head, meaning like the pick told you something. He valued him over this, these next couple guys. It's just an interesting look.
How's our financial plan coming?
Super! Chris, any advice?
With Western and Southern, preparing for your financial future can be easier than you think. Favorite receiver?
Huh?
To get started, visit westernsouthern.com.
New England Patriots at the Philadelphia Eagles. Super Bowl rematch, part 3 here. Who's gonna win the rubber match after they're 1-1 in Super Bowl matchups here?
So the thing that interests me about this game is that this is I suppose last time was the start of New England's run against like decent teams, right? Their schedule is staggeringly easy, like for the entire year. Like it's been a cakewalk until now. And if you look at like the remaining schedule, it's still ridiculously easy. They're like
it's not really remaining though. It's just been all the easy games at the top, all the tough parts in the middle, and then they finish with Miami.
Yeah, but if you look at their remaining schedule, they're like 25th in terms of strength of schedule.
Really?
Yeah.
So you got Dallas?
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's based off the ELO rankings that don't love some of the teams that they're facing, even if they're, they've got a decent record.
On paper, it doesn't look tough because you get Dallas, you've got Houston, Kansas City, Buffalo still out there, and of course there's Cincinnati and Miami are still in there too.
That'll help a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is the next game in the start of the run against teams that are actually half decent, right? What's interesting is if you look at those ELO power rankings, so our power rankings are based off this ELO model, right? Which math people can tell you more about that. I don't really understand what exactly ELO is a guy rather than a thing.
We took the model, which was very much based off of how did you do against this other team. So like when the Ravens beat the Patriots but also pretty handily, it's going to up their ranking quite a bit. But then ours uses our grades, not just say score and result.
So it's not the bottom line of football is that the better team can lose games sometimes.
Right.
The better team doesn't always win a game. Right?
Or the team that played better can lose the game, and this model
That's what
will
I'm saying,
take advantage
right? So
of that.
The better team doesn't always win the game because of the way freak ball can bounce in a certain direction, and suddenly that's it's a 14-point swing, and you end up on the crappy end of the scoreboard, even though you were the better team throughout the game. So this ELO model, most power rankings are basically just let's look at the standings and adjust it 1 or 2 based off gut feel. This actually is using the grading to tell you who the better team should be. So theoretically, if these two teams met in the Super Bowl tomorrow, this is the one that should win because they're better, right? So the Eagles are a team that the ELO rankings likes quite a lot. They actually have them above Dallas, despite they flip the standings order essentially. So the ELO rankings like the Eagles quite a bit, which again, it sort of boosts them further up this list of teams that the Patriots are playing. They're actually, a relatively formidable team. Carson Wentz is playing extremely well, even though other quarterbacks have better numbers. There are certainly problems on this Eagles team, but this is a fascinating matchup because I think it is a legitimate test for the Patriots.
Yeah, and of course, we didn't get to see Carson Wentz against the Patriots in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and when you talk about the Patriots' pass defense, which is still really, really good. I mean, the way they're playing this year. And, Wentz is that guy that, Belichick does a lot to try to keep mobile quarterbacks in the pocket. And Wentz isn't as mobile as Lamar, Russell Wilson, or Aaron Rodgers, but when he gets outside the pocket, he's extremely dangerous. So this is one of those games where I feel like New England goes in with this game plan, like, hey, keep this guy in, make him win from the pocket over and over again. But he can make those special outside of structure plays that if you're talking about New England's easy schedule that made them not look that made them look like the 85 Bears early on, it's because they're facing Luke Falk, who can't do that, and they're facing Josh Allen, and they're facing whoever else along the way, the Miami quarterbacks who just aren't able to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So Wentz against this New England defense.
I mean, I think this mini run in the middle of the season is going to tell us a lot more about the Patriots. Their schedule, certainly at the start of the season, was so absurdly easy that we don't actually know how good they are yet. The first game they had that was against a decent team and quarterback, they lost. Now, okay, it was close, and
I would say Week 1 against the Steelers was pretty emphatic, though.
Sure,
like 33-3 with Ben Roethlisberger at the helm.
Right, but Ben Roethlisberger's been playing badly for a while now, and the Steelers' defense wasn't what it is now.
Well, that's because they haven't played anybody good.
I mean, that's part of it, right? But you even just bringing in Minka, Bud Dupree suddenly starting playing. Like, this defense now is different to the way it was week one. Plus, week one is always kind of screwy in terms of what happens.
Yeah, I think bottom line for New England, they need to figure out the offense. The offense as a whole has regressed. So the same way we're talking about Baltimore saying, hey, throws to tight ends are great, I really think the personnel decisions at tight end for New England and not having a Gronk replacement like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They could have drafted, speaking of the Eagles, Dallas Goedert. I mean, all these guys that have entered the league at tight end the last couple of years, they kind of had a shot at, right? They did not do anything to replace the tight end position. So now they're not even throwing there. And that's always been it's a high production position for everybody, but especially in that New England offense. So they haven't replaced that, haven't really found that identity on offense. You got an aging quarterback who, again, I would still say he's regressed to like 2014-ish Brady with just lesser weapons.
Yeah.
And that leads to, mid-tier type of stats.
You have... sorry.
I'm just saying, but that's going to be the key to New England season. I think the defense...
It's good.
Any given week,
happens.
they're very, very good. They can cover. They can play championship-level defense, but it's still going to come down to what they do throwing the ball through the air. You
have N'Keal Harry highlighted, featured on your notes here. Is he playing this week?
He's here. He's around. He might.
He's been practicing. I've seen him run routes where
he's back
separated from you.
Yeah, he's what?
I've seen him run routes in practice where he wouldn't have separated from you.
Oh, you've seen practice, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know if they use him as like a tight end.
I'm really fascinated by what he is at this level because, I think if you're scouting wide receivers, I think the first thing you start with is separation, route running. Does he get open, right? The first thing, like job one. After that, let's start looking at athleticism, speed.
Yeah, he doesn't do that well.
There's a list, right? And I think he doesn't separate at all.
So
ever.
But so the receiver on the other side, the Eagles have Alshon Jeffrey.
Right.
Is that like a best case type of scenario for the Patriots? Because Alshon Jeffrey's not the best separator in the world. He's made I feel like Kelvin Benjamin hasn't been able to make a living as a contested catch guy because he's not just a bad route runner. Like he's
a bad contested catch guy.
He's bad at that, but he also literally leads to like 4 or 5 interceptions per year because his route running is just bad. Alshon has kind of made a living as a contested catch guy, or uber possession type of receiver. I mean, is this N'Keal Harry's highest end?
No. So the two things that I think N'Keal Harry does well is one, he's been spectacular at contested catch situations, like way beyond what you expect somebody to be able to achieve on a consistent basis. And then the other thing he has is he's really good after the catch. So for a big guy that doesn't separate, he's actually really shifty and difficult to bring down.
Get good vision. You saw those times he reverse fielded out
in the open field. So you can do things with him that I don't think you can do with Alshon Jeffrey. Like if you threw Alshon Jeffrey a wide receiver screen, like he's not reversing field, taking it 50 yards and beating 3 guys in space.
Right.
He just can't. He just doesn't have that, right? Whereas Harry, I think, probably does. It's sort of like, you remember, I think, early career Anquan Bolden, before he lost all of his speed and was just literally like a body that you had to heave the ball at and hope he'd win it in the air. Like early career Bolden could rumble, like with the ball in his hands, make some things happen after the catch, breaks and tackles.
He was a quarterback going into Florida State, yeah.
So early career...
Not that makes you feel... But he was a running quarterback, is my point.
But so early career Anquan Bolden is what I'm kind of picturing for N'Keal Harry. A guy that can win contested catches but also do some stuff by just getting the ball in his hands in space. I just don't see a way that he's ever going to work out. He's never going to be a sort of standard perimeter wide receiver that wins through separation.
Yeah.
You can consistently feed the ball that way.
Well, the thing I said was in 2014 they had Brandon LaFell as a really nice complement to Edelman, Gronk, Amendola, the backs out of the backfield, and all that stuff. And he was he was slants and back shoulder type stuff. I mean, he could be that contributor. So I think if they can get anything out of N'Keal Harry, and then you've got another possession receiver to go with Mohamed Sanu, who's more of a possession receiver, to go with Edelman, who's more of a possession receiver, and then Dorsett's like a decent 3/4 deep threat. So it's not the worst in the world. I still think they're missing that tight end. But if Harry takes the middle of the field type of stuff, he plays the Marcus Colston role, however you want to position
the thing,
it.
Right? There's a bunch of different ways you can use a guy like that. Let's say you agree that he's never going to work on the outside consistently as someone that can separate. So most of the time, you're going to need to figure out how to get him the ball in a way that doesn't rely on him beating somebody one-on-one and gaining separation. Typically, the easiest way of doing that is lining them up inside where there's more space, because usually the slot receiver is the guy off the line of scrimmage, so teams don't press that guy. So immediately you're working with more separation between you and the defensive back, and that guy's got to defend a two-way go. So you can generate more separation simply by playing the other side to that guy, right? So you can generally gain separation by just lining them up inside, but also there's then multiple different ways of using those slot receivers. So the Saints, back with Marcus Colston, would use him as this vertical slot weapon and sort of send him, like tight ends, send him down the seam, over the middle, exploit the space between the safeties and the linebackers and the corners coming in on you. And that's one way of doing it as well. So, yeah, I'm generally sort of interested to see what they do with him, how he presents himself in this offense, and whether he is successful doing the things he was successful at in college, or whether he's just, another version of Laquan Treadwell, who the things he's good at doesn't translate.
That's good. That's what I'm most interested in. Is this? What do the Patriots think of him? Do they try to make him an outside receiver? Do they try to hide him, or not hide him in the slot, but use him
right? And I think if there's
as a slot,
there again,
or he might not even be active.
Yes, that's true. Throughout the NFL, there's a spectrum of how willing NFL teams are to essentially put guys in the best situation to succeed, right?
Yep.
You get teams that will take a guy like Treadwell and just say, well, this is our receiver position. You learn this and succeed or fail.
Right.
Then there are teams like the Patriots, I think, will be really good at this, but, the Saints, for example. It's like, all right, you only do these two things well? That's all you're doing this year. Yep. Nothing but this, right? Michael Thomas, in his first year in New Orleans, ran like 2 routes. He just ran like slants, goes, and hitches. That was it. And it worked, right? He was ridiculously productive right from the outset, because it didn't say, all right, here's this position, learn all of it, and if you're not very good at it, you're screwed.
Right.
They said, all right, you can only do these 3 things. It's all we're doing year 1. We'll work on the rest in the offseason. We'll get you up to speed then. Just concentrate on this stuff. And he was incredibly productive. I think of any team, the Patriots will be pretty good at saying, all right, turns out, Nikhil, you're not so great at the old separating stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it for you. Don't worry about it. Yeah. You are not going to have to beat these guys. We'll beat them for you. You just catch the ball.
I just think it's such a big story because you're in the last 8 to 10 years of Brady's career, right? And this is the first time they ever invested in a wide receiver in the first round.
What's his TB12 guru guy called?
Gonzalez?
Is it Gonzalez or Guerrero?
Guerrero,
sorry. Alex Guerrero?
Alex Guerrero.
So he thinks he can play well beyond 45.
Well beyond?
Well beyond.
Oh, man, I'd love to see it. Just keep going, man. I was thinking Dan Guerrero, the high school football coach, who I follow on Twitter. That was the first name that came to mind, Alex Guerrero. It's just a fascinating story because before the draft, there were all these rumors that like Deebo Samuel had a visit with New England, and he was like, that's it, I'm going to be a Patriot. Like he thought they were so enamored that they were going to pick him. They passed on Deebo Samuel. They passed on Terry McLaurin, 2 guys who are doing a really nice job, probably fit the receiver mold a little bit more in New England than N'Keal Harry. But the Patriots saw something in N'Keal Harry to make him the first round wide receiver in the Belichick era.
It is genuinely fascinating that they chose N'Keal Harry, given what certainly I, and I think you as well, thought about him as a receiver, right? It's like he's really not good at a bunch of things that are quite important for playing wide receiver. And yet the Patriots saw enough to make him a first-round pick. Anytime
you can kind of like get into Belichick's head, meaning like the pick told you something. He valued him over these next couple guys. It's just an interesting look.
And it's fascinating for a couple of reasons. One, because it's the Patriots, and we assume that the Patriots are this cutting-edge, know-everything kind of team. And 2, because they've been pretty spectacularly bad at drafting wide receivers.
They have a really bad history of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
even like a Deontay Johnson, who's showing that route running ability that we saw, like a guy like that would have been a much better fit on paper, right?
But this is a team that basically gave up for a period at drafting wide receivers because of the mess they made before. Like they draft Chad Jackson in the 2nd round. Yeah. That went so badly that's like, right, we're just trading for him. We're not even trying anymore.
Aaron Dobson.
Right.
Yeah.
And then then the thing that brings them back into it is N'Keal Harry in the first round. It's like, wow. I mean, that's just interesting.
And to be clear, yes, they found Edelman as a late round.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they stopped drafting completely, but they stopped burning early round draft picks.
When they've attacked the wide receiver position in early rounds.
Everybody drafts at least a wide receiver every year somewhere because you need them. Right?
Anyway, a lot of time on the receivers there. I am also interested in that Eagles pass rush against the Patriots pass blocking. Marshall Newhouse has had trouble. He's given up 25 pressures. Shaq Mason's given up 20 when he's been out there. Marcus Cannon's had his ups and downs. The Patriots pass blocking has not been as good as previous years. And that's the other issue because they're not running the ball all that well. The line's not playing all that well, and this is probably the best pass rush defensive front that they faced.
Yeah.
So another key to look at there. All that said,
Brady's numbers under pressure, I think, have been horrendous.
Horrendous. Not good compared to it. So you could say it's gonna get better.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah. Interesting. We've all chosen the Patriots.
We're all taking New England.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.